So namaste, welcome to Satsang today. And today I wanted to look at, as perhaps always, the most direct way that I'm aware of to from my own experience and helping others to come to peace right now in this moment, because we tend to, as human beings, have a capacity for making things complicated. I know that was the issue always for me. Usual way of trying to approach something is to make it complex, or to find different steps, or to find a pathway or something like that. And never more so do we do that than with awakening, to try to put it into some future moment where I'm going to feel more peaceful than I do right now. And in fact, we could say that that is the nature of the separate sense of self, who we take ourselves to be, our egoic self, our mind. I'm using all those terms synonymously. So what our ego does, what our separate sense of self does, is to look at what's happening in this moment as a means to an end. So when I get to some future moment, I'm going to feel better, or have more, or be more awakened, or feel less terrible than I do right now. So this is the one simple kind of mechanism that we can really begin to understand is perpetuating our suffering as a human being. And when we begin to understand that viewing this moment as it is right now as either something to overcome, moving towards some future moment where things will be better than they are now, or using this moment somehow to get to some future moment. And in doing that, inherently, we're dividing ourselves into two, into what is right now and what we would imaginary moment in the future. And also, perhaps even more importantly, we are not really being here in this moment. We're kind of lost more in our thoughts about this moment and what needs to change about it in order to get to this future moment. So our egoic sense of self is kind of this mechanism that is constantly assessing this moment and comparing it to some future imaginary moment. And that future imaginary moment could be some a minute from now, 10 hours, 10 years, 10 lifetimes from now, if we're talking about awakening. And we're never going to find peace by doing that. Peace can only come, and then eventually love and joy, and even a deep bliss. It can only come by being present to what is here in this moment already. And not the sort of very quick glance at this moment the ego does and says, that isn't what I want. This isn't what I want. And I can't be happy until it is how I want it to be. So for me, my awakening, my spirituality, my practice all began to boil down to a very simple thing. How am I in this moment? How am I with this moment? How am I responding to and reacting to what is the shapes that are moving in this moment, the manifestation? Because this moment in itself, we don't really have a problem with. This moment now, if we just take this moment now, you don't really have a problem with it. You tend to have a problem with what is appearing inside it, the shapes that the forms are taking, whether that's thought forms, emotional forms, whatever way the body is appearing, if it's comfortable or uncomfortable, healthy or otherwise in pain, or whether it's just restless, or whether some external form is troubling you, something going on in your life. So we can make a huge evolutionary leap into peace when we begin to see how this moment treats the forms that are arising. How does it be with what is coming and going in this moment? Does it use all of this, the nowness of this moment, does it use all this manifestation as a means to an end? Is it looking to get something different and better than is here right now? Does it have that capacity? So our ego begins to soften and dissolve as we really begin to see that all we have to work with is this moment. And for me, it was revolutionary when I began to understand that pushing against what is happening, what has already manifested in this moment, for me, it was insanity, and yet I kept doing it. Pushing against what's already shown up, whether that's thoughts, emotions, the body, the way the body is, something going on in our relationships. Pushing against it, rejecting it, and expecting to feel peace is absolutely the definition of insanity when we look at it really. Can we ever feel an absence of conflict in this moment when we're pushing against what is? And as we begin to see that, it doesn't mean we have to kind of like how this moment is in the way that the manifestation is appearing. But we can take a huge evolutionary step when we begin to accept this is how it has already shown up. What I would like those shapes, those forms to move and change into might be something else than it is right now. But how it is right now is how it is right now, and no amount of pushing against that is going to make it different than it is already, how it's already taken shape, how it's already taken form. So we could say that formless is always moving into some kind of shape, some kind of manifestation. And it's like trying to, when the rain's falling out of the clouds and hitting the ground, it's like trying to get that rain to go back up into the cloud. It's never going to work. You cannot get those raindrops out of the ground and back up. And yet we're all doing this until we don't. Because of this one very well-believed idea that if I push against this moment, it's going to change into what I would like it to be. If this moment, if the shapes appearing in this moment are not how I want them to be, my thoughts, my emotions, how my body feels, how my relationships are, how my career is going, how healthy my bank account looks, how my relationship is with my family, whatever it's going on, if I push against it right now, how it's already shown up, then somehow magically it's going to turn into what I want it to be. So this idea that the more I resist this moment, the more successful I'm going to be at getting what I want. We can begin to see that this is utter nonsense, really, and we've all really bought into this, most especially perhaps with awakening. If I really push against and reject the fact that I don't feel at peace right now, it'll somehow change into peace. It is what mind, ego, separate sense of self says. Is that really working out for us? Is that really actually going to produce a lasting, stable peace? Not so much. And this other contrary idea that we have to begin to see through. So the first idea is, if I push against this moment, I'm going to get it to look like I want it to be. And of course, we aren't doing that on a conscious level. It's just like most of us are so busy pushing against this moment by thinking about it. The more I'm thinking about something, the more I'm fueling the thought stream. That's a very subtle but powerful way of resisting what is, by thinking about what is. we're going to do this in a little moment. We'll do a meditation. We'll go right into this. But so the other idea is, if I don't push against what is, I won't get what I want. We could say maybe they're the same thing, but it's helpful really to explore the other side of that idea. Mine says, I cannot stop resisting how it is right now, because if I stop resisting and begin to accept how it's already shown up, it can never change into what I want it to be. If that's world peace that we're wanting, an end to starvation, whether we want to be more awakened, or they want a promotion at work, whether we need more money, or whether we just want to feel happy, it's all revolving around this idea. And really coming to see that reality works the opposite way. The less I push against this moment. So noticing how the shapes are appearing, noticing the labels I want to put on those things, wanted and unwanted, negative and positive, happy and sad, and all of those. Also noticing if there's a desire for it to be different in you, then honoring that too. That is part of what is the desire for it to be different. Accepting completely how it's shown up already in this moment, then we naturally slide into the awakened state by doing that, because that is the awakened state. This now moment, it's intangible, it's ineffable, it's here. Everything is happening inside it, but we can't say where it is, where it isn't. It's kind of everywhere. Where is the now? If we just take a moment and look at that question, where is this moment? And when does it stop and when does it start? And is it pushing against? Does it have an opinion on how things are showing up inside it? Isn't it really the epitome of love that it just allows whatever wants to take shape to move into form? And it's really only the human mind that would put labels on those things and saying wanted and therefore good, unwanted and therefore bad, or positive and negative. And then from that comes this egoic mechanism of pushing against and grabbing. I want to keep this and I want to get rid of that. So is the moment that we're all experiencing right now, is it doing any of that? In fact, it even allows the human mind to do its thing. It doesn't say that anything should not be. It says that everything can be how it is. And in the relaxed watching of this, the way the shapes are playing out in this moment, just being aware of what is showing up, then what is showing up begins to change, begins to take a higher vibrational form. All forms are vibrating at a certain rate, last for a certain amount of time, and then change, disappear. And this movement of manifestation is always increasing in frequency, higher and higher. That's happening with thoughts. The frequency of our thoughts is generally getting higher. And it begins to happen much faster, more what we'd call positive thoughts, as we're just watching, we're just witnessing. So the practice from me began to be, which way in do I find to just allowing this moment? We could do that through meditation, as we're going to do soon. We could do that through contemplation. We could do that through self-inquiry and many other countless ways. When you've done it a little while, you can just kind of get used to just dropping any resistance this moment. And begin to notice you immediately feel better just doing that. How can anything flow into manifestation if it's got to come through our impeded life force energy, impeded by all these ideas that we've got about this moment and this pushing against what is. This is not what I want it to be. That's okay. Don't have to suddenly pretend that we like what is. But we do have to come to accept this is how it's shown up already. So just for me, getting really clear on this fact that I cannot do anything at all to change how manifestation has already appeared. And that to think otherwise it's insanity, was for me. Then we begin to realize the only choice we have in this moment at any time is really how we are being in this moment. Are we being like someone in this moment trying to get to a future moment? Or trying to get away from a previous moment? Or are we being this moment by being like it, by being just watching, appreciating how things have already appeared? It's counterintuitive to the mind that to completely accept what is, then what will be begins to change into what we want it to be. And it completely unhooks you from the egoic sense of self, because there is nothing then for you to do, not even to resist this moment. So let's do this right now. Let's take a few moments just to experience what it's like to just be with this moment. And if you want to, if it feels right, to just be this moment. You might not say, how do I do that? But just noticing this moment that our bodies are all appearing inside. The room that you're sitting in is appearing inside this moment. All the furniture, your body, your thoughts, everything. And it's like the oxygen in the air. It doesn't have an opinion. It's not liking or disliking. Even if some of the thought forms that appear are, I don't like this, I do like this. I want to keep this, I don't want to keep this. So just for a few moments, eyes open or closed, whatever you want to do. We'll take 10 or 15 minutes just to experience being this moment. What is it like when you're not using this moment as a means to an end? You can begin, if you want to, by really noticing what your senses are noticing. What can you smell? What can you see with your eyes? Have you really looked at what's coming in through your senses? Really reconnect with them. The more you notice what you're noticing, you can shift into this passive mode anyway of just noticing. What can you hear? And if you want to, you can close your eyes and what can I feel inside? What can I feel? Be connecting with your body. How does your body feel right now? And you're recognizing that there is something already within you that is you, that doesn't have to do anything with this moment. Doesn't have to try to reorganize the forms and the shapes appearing. Just allowing whatever shapes appear to appear and disappear. Thoughts and sensations, sounds. So not even using the satsang as a means to an end, just listening to these words, just listening, just hearing. There's nothing you need to do with what I'm saying. You don't need to take it and use it. You just need to hear it. So just allowing whatever it is to be. part of what is appearing for you right now might be a desire for something to be different. Allowing that to. Allowing any negative emotions doesn't mean liking them, but allowing them, acknowledging they exist already. And as you reconnect with your body, with your senses, you'll naturally begin to notice that which just is watching. Watching, allowing. It's not a thing. It is you. It knows what thoughts are there or not. It knows what emotions are there or not. It knows the sounds you're hearing, knows the meaning of these words. And it doesn't have to do anything with them. Just the kind of isness of it all. Noticing how your body feels, your body responds to this. Just being this moment. Your body intuitively knows whether you're pushing against or being with. Your breathing is just happening by itself. Your mind is just thinking by itself. Body's functions are just going on. Your senses are just perceiving. And you're just here. Just quietly, gently watching everything that's going on. Not needing to do anything. The manifestation, the shapes, the forms will move anyway, will change anyway. Our attempt to hold it all together really only serves to disturb us. And we can release that in this moment. This is the highest form of love, just loving what is, being with what is already. Whatever your senses are perceiving, it's just going on by itself. And you're just noticing. If a desire arises to keep feeling like this, let that arise too. If a restlessness arises that you should be doing something, let that arise too. You're simply watching. Just enjoying this moment exactly how it is. Your body can feel whatever it feels. Your mind may be thinking or not thinking. States of contentment, restlessness may come and go. This moment is all we have. And fulfillment, peace is available here and now. Nothing can disturb this moment. Everything is allowed to exist. Does it feel like to not need anything from this moment? Do not need it to change. Just resting here in the fullness of this moment. And whenever you need to, whenever you want to, you can come back to this, to just being with what is the simplest of things. And keep coming back to this. And somehow, at some point, quietly, you'll forget how to push against. That will just fall away. So, whenever you're ready, if you want to, open your eyes. If they're closed, you can. But even if you do, and as we're moving forward into the question and answer section of this satsang, see if you can just be with what's happening, just listening, just being aware. Even if you find yourself asking a question, just hearing the words come out and then just hearing the answer. And not needing to use this satsang in any way. It's more delightful to just experience this satsang, isn't it? To just be here. And really, that is what our practice is for. It's just to remember to come back to this. Just being with this moment in its utter, utter simplicity. Okay, so I'll start by reading a question, as always, that's been sent in. If you do have a question or something you want to share, feel free to raise your hand electronically here on Zoom. So this question says, hi Helen, I'm so grateful to come across your teachings since the last few weeks. It opens a new door for me to evolve spiritually when I thought that I am stuck and there is no way out. So thank you for being my angel. Thank you. Your contemplation technique has helped me dissolve many karmic patterns, and I'm really surprised at the sheer numbers of beliefs that keep flooding me all the time now. I must say I am really busy contemplating these days all the time. As I am progressing, I am also realizing I judge people a lot. How they look, how they behave, are they doing this or that? Though I am starting to witness it and know it is not really the true I who is creating them or believes them, but it is really taking a toll on me. I want my mind to stop judging and be one with the self. I really, really want to experience the oneness in all. So my question to you is, how can I transcend my judgmental thoughts and know, not in thoughts or intellectually, but know in the real sense, know that I am not separate from others. Thanks a ton for all your good work. Much love and gratitude. So thank you for what you said. I'm glad it's helpful. So if I want to move away from my judgmental mind and experience the immediacy and the oneness of this moment, as we're calling it, the oneness of the one being, then by wanting it to stop, or by wanting my mind to stop or judging it as unwanted or bad, are we ever going to get away from judgment by judging the judgment? And I know that sounds like an obvious thing to say, but what does that actually mean in practice? If my mind is doing what it does and I've seen that it's not me and it's commenting on this and that and all the rest of it, I have kind of two options in that moment then. I can either judge it for doing that, or I can accept that that is its function, that is its role. And as the witnessing consciousness, the now moment, as we're calling it today, that I don't have any issue with that. So who is it that wants the mind to stop? For me, this is a vital question. Is it the mind that wants the mind to stop, or is it the true self? What does this now moment that we were just experiencing, what opinion does it have on what's appearing inside it, even if those are judgmental thoughts, the shapes that the self is taking, making? What does the true self want to do about the mind? What does it need to do about the mind? And the first step, of course, is to see these thoughts are just happening and I don't really have any direct control over the content of my thought stream, but I do have an indirect control in when I decide that I'm never going to move away from judgment by judging. Of course, you would like nicer thoughts. Of course, you would like thoughts that are less judgmental of other beings. But can you ever get that when your very decision is to judge yourself? Your mind is arising out of you. It is a part of you. Can you ever get that by judging the way that you are appearing? You are appearing as however your mind is, however your body is, however your emotions are, however your relationships are, all of that is you, the appearance of you inside this now moment. Do you really need to get away from that to stop that? And at first look, we might say, yes, I want a quiet mind. Of course, we've all heard that that's possible. How do we get to that? Is it ever going to be by engaging in more judgmental thoughts about yourself? And again, it's a very simple thing that I'm saying, but it goes against what our mind believes to be true, which is if I judge and label my judging as bad or wrong or unwanted, it will go away. If I push against the judging that's happening right now, there'll be less of it. And really the self, the true self, the now moment would say, be however you want to be. Show up however you want. It's okay for me. And just to watch those thoughts when they arise, those judgments. You said that you know it's not you that's judging. I'd agree with that, but that could go a little deeper. What does that mean then? Are you really the one that has the problem with this? Or are you taking on mind's issues, mind's to-do list as yours? What problem do you have with your mind as the infinite space of awareness, as this now moment? Or is this just more running around after the raindrops trying to clear them up and all of that? When I really looked and investigated into this, I found that I didn't have a problem at all with the mind. It could be judging, commenting, talking. And I was just the empty field of awareness in which all of this content of thought was pouring itself into, shapes coming and going and disappearing and appearing. Just like the bodies are coming and going and all of that. So really have a look at this. Can this go a little deeper, that you are not your mind? The one that has likes and dislikes and preferences in terms of the judging. Is that you? And what happens when you see I don't really actually mind either way what my mind is doing. What happens to the thought stream then? Does it increase or decrease? When you're allowing even your mind to be exactly as it is in this moment, because it's just something that's happening inside you. You are this vast 100,000-seater stadium, and there's one little guy running around on the grass in the middle, shouting. One little guy just running around doing his thing. Does that bother you? Depends on who you think you are, doesn't it? And it's only that this seeing that you are not that just needs to go a little deeper. And then there'll be clarity. So hopefully that's helpful. Does anybody like to ask a question or share anything? Or I can read another question here. Okay, this is a long one. Wow. I will read this one then. Hi, Helen. Since discovering you online about a year ago, listening to your satsangs and participating in the DTE course, that's the Dissolving the Ego course, it gets shortened to DTE. I feel you truly are my teacher. You have shown me that not only is awakening possible, but I am the very thing I have been seeking. Wonderful. It's hard to put into words how much I love you and appreciate your teachings. Thank you. I am a loner by nature, so having a teacher I can reach out to in satsangs I can participate in, all there at the tip of my fingers, is invaluable to me. I can't thank you enough. Helen, my question today is about motivation. About 5 years ago, I went through a spiritual growth spurt where I was experiencing waves of bliss and having epiphanies one after the other. It was during that time I became very disinterested in everything that I was usually interested in. In my case, anything creative such as writing or art projects. I had defined and identified my egoic self as an artist and writer, but now I'd seen through those titles and experienced my true self. I knew what was happening. I'd read enough spiritual material to know it was common to lose motivation and drive after some spiritual growth, so it didn't bother me. In fact, it made me feel like I was on the right track. And even this was validation of spiritual maturity. I had also read that once this new way of being had been assimilated into life, the new movement of motivation and excitement would replace the old egoic, fear-based mode. Well, it's been more than 5 years now, lol, and I still don't feel driven or excitement about anything creative. And I'm beginning to wonder if I ever will. I've started and stopped so many projects due to complete lack of interest. What's going on? Is this my egoic self trying to reassure itself even now? I want to wake up every day and be excited about life. I want to contribute to the world. I want to use the gifts I've been given. Retirement is fast approaching, and there is a fear that I'll be sitting all day long feeling useless with nothing to do. How can creativity be cultivated without the ego attaching itself to the work? Anything you can say on this will be much appreciated. I love you so much. I love you too, and thank you for what you've said. So I think pretty much, as you said, everyone goes through some kind of period like this where there is a detachment from things and disinterest in things that I used to enjoy or used to do. And some of those will not come back because some of those were things we were doing to try to be someone special, to try to be more liked, to try to be more loved. And all of the things that the ego does, as you said, this fear-based mode of operating. Some of it, though, will come back because it is the nature of the self to create, whether it's creating thought forms or emotional forms or physical forms or energy fields. It is its nature to move into form. And that's really what creativity is, isn't it? The physical creativity of two parents creating a child, the creativity of cooking a beautiful meal that you've never made before, perhaps. The creativity of trying to manage a household budget and feed everyone on an unlimited amount of money. Very creative. So first of all, I'd start to look at where creativity is already happening. It may not be happening in the ways that it used to just yet. And if the art and the writing that you were doing used to give you a lot of joy, then that was probably something that wasn't being done for any other reason than you were enjoying it. So that will most likely come back. Why hasn't it come back yet? Well, I'd like to say that this halfway in between stage is kind of stuttered out, where you said something really important here. I want to wake up and be excited about life. I want to contribute to the world. I want to use the gifts I've been given. Why aren't you waking up now feeling excited about the world? And can some gift that gives you joy to do, such as art or writing or music or anything really, dancing, all of that, can something that gives you that agrees with that joyful feeling come when you're not already joyful? And why aren't you now already waking up excited about life? What is it that's holding that back? So there's been some shift. Absolutely, there's been some powerful seeing. But has that gone deep enough? Could it go a little bit deeper to where you're not stuck in this kind of no man's land in the middle of not quite being the egoic sense of self, but not quite fully living as the self-realized being, which is, coming with joy and all of that anyway, and peace. So looking for that joy now in this moment, creativity then will naturally follow. It will naturally come to the forefront anyway. So instead of trying to do something, which ego does, trying to do something that brings me joy, now as the self, you must find that joy in this moment, which starts with the peace we've just been feeling in the meditation and then develops into a much deeper. I'd really suggest looking at, why aren't I feeling joy already? And then pretty much everything you do will enhance that joy. Even if you're doing something seemingly mundane, like walking around a supermarket, but there'll be things that give you extraordinary joy, like whatever creativity, however creativity expresses itself for you. And you won't be able to help but use those gifts and contribute to the world. I get it, I really do, because I really wanted to make a difference, to leave this body knowing I'd left the world in a better place than when this body was born. But that's only going to come about for each one of us as we embrace the fullness of our real nature. So just looking at, why aren't I feeling that joy and that excitement already? What is that about? And really, it is possible to kind of get back to that place we had as children, where we would leap out of bed and be eager to experience the day, and actually didn't want to go to bed at the end of the day. How is it we kind of flip that, the other way around as adults? So searching for that joy first, finding it here in this moment first, watching the creativity that's already happening. If you want to create some art, look at this universe that you created. This is your artwork here. This is your sculpture, your living, three-dimensional, constantly changing sculpture. I think that's pretty awesome, Look at the sunsets and sunrises. Look at the flowers on the trees. Look at the way children laugh and play with each other. Look at the way adults hug each other. Look at the beauty of when somebody can finally cry and release something that they've been holding on to for so long. Begin to see the beauty everywhere, the joy that's here, that's possible. And then as creativity will just pour out of you. You won't be able to stop it. And it's got to come from in here first. Everything we do out there with our body is going to be a reflection of that. So I hope that sort of gives you some place to move forward with that. Always, always, always looking at your inner state first, and then seeing what arises out of that. So, okay, would anyone like to ask a question or to share anything? We have some time. Okay, Amy, when you're ready.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, yeah. I just wanted to say thank you, really. Just, yeah, ongoing support and reminders, and yeah, it's just been such a big deepening for me in you know, in the chaos that that brings. And it's just been, yeah, just you and the team every week, just so grateful. And yeah, there's been deepening through a lot of pain into more of what I am and more of what I'm not. And
I can see that you're glowing. You're just buzzing.
I'm trying not to cry, actually, but
well, that's okay too if you wanna. We'll both cry together.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's yeah, it's not easy, this path at times, and it's just, yeah, just really grateful and thankful, and wanting to say that to you.
Thank you, appreciate it. And you've done exactly everything I could have asked for you. You've asked for help every time you've had a chance to do so. You've never once let that stop you from asking, even if you're asking the same question that you asked last time. You know, I would rather be inundated with 10 people asking the same question than everyone saying, you know, thinking inside that I can't ask that question out. And you've pushed through that so consistently that you're seeing rewards now for that, the benefits of that. And you've used the Sangha too, even more importantly. You've used that support. You've made connections with people. You've the reason most of us don't do that is because of feeling that we're not good enough. And if you can just push through that and do that anyway, reach out to someone for help. And that makes such a difference, doesn't it? Just asking questions like this here, but also having someone who's on the path too that you can talk to. Because it is difficult. It's the most difficult thing we'll ever do. This, isn't it?
Oh, it just pushes us in all the ways, stretches us in all the ways. It's literally like, you know, we look at the sages and we think, God, how am I ever going to become like them? And then we're put through the paces, you know, and it's yeah, it's raw and real. And yeah, and I just wanted to say, like, to anybody with those feelings about, I remember in, you know, previous teachers or whatever, it was very difficult, you know. It was like you have to go through layers of yours, like that becomes your practice as well, doesn't it? And like, you know, asking for help and intimacy with others, and all of that stuff comes up with the Sangha. And it's like, you know, this at the moment is just like, you know, if we can get past those parts of us, it just meets us in such beautiful, effortless ways, like water, you know. And yeah, lots of gratitude. So yeah, do ask questions. And
if I was in your position, I'd be asking every single time I could. I'd be like, yeah, totally the most annoying person on the planet, because I'd be asking every single question I could. I'd be using every opportunity I could. And I'm not saying you're annoying. I think that came out wrong. Let's just rub that out, pretend I never said that. You get the idea of what I'm saying though, right?
Yeah, it's yeah, it gets to be a point where you're just like, you just have no pride anymore, basically.
It was just like that for me.
Just
It
like,
got so painful that I could not push through it. And that's the purpose of suffering, if there is one, right? To kind of push you to inquire into something that you wouldn't do before, or contemplate where you wouldn't have before, or something like that, and ask questions where you wouldn't have before. And yeah, it's wonderful. So good to see you smiling and yeah, and crying too. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah,
thanks. Yeah,
and just keep doing that. Keep reaching out. Keep asking. Keep doing what you're doing. Lovely. Thank you.
There's been a shift now that there's more knowledge that the space is more kind of weight in that, so there's more that can be seen. It's sort of like this a ruthlessness, I guess, more and more with the objects, not ruthlessness as in, you know what I mean, discernment, I guess.
Yeah, then it becomes very focused, doesn't it? Very, very clear. And there really isn't this all or nothing switch that we expect. It's just more and more I feel like I know clearer that I am the invisible space of consciousness, and I'm less and less convinced that I am someone, and therefore less and less reactive to things, and less pushing against this moment as we were doing earlier. Wonderful. So good.
Yeah, thank you. Little shit.
Okay. Wonderful. Does anybody else like to ask a question or to share anything that's going on? Okay, we shall leave it there for today then. Thank you for all your intelligent questions that you're sending in, and for Amy's beautiful sharing there as well. Appreciate it. Thank you. Namaste.